Start our budget workshop with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good view, there you go, you got it. All right. So I promise this will not hurt, it won't take long at all either. I think Sarah got the first lesson and she walked in this morning very hyped up. Go ahead.
I had it so that we just had to finagle one number, and I was so excited. I put little stars by it, and he gave me a heart attack the rest of the day.
There were some things that we still had to work out. So she learned really quickly how fast, oh, you found money, oh, you lost money, oh, we have to tweak this, oh, we got to change that. So we spent probably a good 3 hours this morning really setting everything kind of up as far as some of the unknowns that we had. We had those as a Friday, but we've got them really kind of finalized today. So I think the last board meeting we talked about the fact that we were about $88,000 in the red as far as budget to budget. We're about $67,000 right now. We were much higher this morning, but we ended up tweaking some of those areas. Especially special ed placements was big. We've got the fuel bids in. We'll go over those things here in a minute. We're really seeing a big increase in costs for special ed placements outside of the district. That's one of the bigger areas that we're seeing. Bus leases also. Our bus lease payment was probably about $175,000 a year for 9 buses, and now we're up to about $260,000 a year. Buses have gone up, and when I started here, I think we started at probably $130,000 a bus. They're at $175, they're gonna go to $180. And now with some of the tariffs, they're thinking upwards around $200 in the next couple of years.
Just a question about that, and I don't, we've gone down the road of alternate sizes before, and I understand the consistency aspect, but are there any routes that are further in distance but maybe just don't have the need for a 60-some passenger that would maybe be cheaper buses? I know we've looked at it before, but I know things have changed and I want to make sure we're not.
So we actually have a meeting with Greg this week that we want to discuss kind of that same thing. We talked, I think it was in finance or something, just as a side conversation about, instead of a van, and I will say in the budget right now, we have 2 vans. One is in the budget, one will come out of a capital reserve when we establish it in May. We just have those as placeholders.
Okay.
So I need to talk to him about it. We had talked a little bit, I think I know what you're talking about, not a Suburban, but something that can hold 10 or 12 people.
Yeah, or even up to maybe 20, I mean, they're kind of the mid-range things.
The bigger ones you're not allowed to transport students in them. Because the
bigger vans.
The bigger vans,
No, I'm talking, they're school buses, they're yellow school buses.
Oh, okay.
The Head Start buses are perfect.
Yeah,
example of
they're
that
just,
size.
they're built out to be that range of maybe up to say 20. We used to have them here.
Yep.
Or even 40, don't they have 40 passenger buses?
They do, they have all
The air.
sizes. It'd be cheaper to take a basketball team or whatever.
That's
Right.
Or we had thought tennis team was perfect, we don't have a team of 40 people or 30
Or
people.
even the wrestling
Something
trips
like that.
down to Walton.
Yep.
We're running these the buses at 170 or how many?
Remember when we talked about it years and years ago, we talked about it, I think, and I will go back, when I talked to Greg this week, we talked to Greg, about the fact of the weight on them as far as they hold better on the roads. I'm not really sure, but then again, we have a lot of back roads and up in the mountain areas that are harder for turnarounds and things like that, so we're gonna talk about that. So we have our intent in for them to order, even, right now, it's looking like even whatever we get, you're probably not gonna see a switch out until September.
Mhm.
So and that happened to us last year, it's just supply and demand right
Yeah,
now.
right.
We were in line to get them, it's not like we had to go out and order them, we got a letter, they've already got the factory ready to go.
In same topic, our fleet split into 2 leases.
2 9-bus leases, yep.
So the first of the two, we re-upped last year.
Yep.
So the difference you're showing now is the difference between the cost for 9 last year versus the cost for 9 this year.
Yep, well, yeah, and then the additional 9, because like I said, usually you're talking about 100.
The ones we leased last year, the price is not changing, right? That's
No,
fixed for the.
No, but now the new lease that we're used to $175,000 payment is not gonna go to like a $260, just because they're all brand new buses within 5 years, so. And I will say that I know they're not made exactly the same anymore, they're just not the quality. We just heard that, not our company that we go through, but other companies aren't even, some of them are not even honoring what they quoted like back in the fall for if you were gonna get buses this summer because of the fear of tariffs. We are locked in at our rates,
Or whatever.
we're okay, yeah, so. We're seeing a big increase, we had a medical, health insurance went up, we've got, our liability insurance is going up too. So we're seeing some pretty good size increase in just the contractual side, then you've got BOCES cost as well. So it's not out of the ordinary as far as BOCES, they kind of kept theirs around 3%, but still those go up each year because they have salaries that they have to pay, things like that. I will say so we have finance. This one we're still looking at the salary, it's not salary increases, it's basic salary increases, but some of the contractual increases we have. There's some training in there that we need to look at, and so this $45,000 increase, I think, can come down. So we're gonna keep chipping away, like I said, we're kind of at the scalpel phase of the budget. We're not waiting on anything really big. Now we sit down and start kind of carving out certain areas, we can look at some of this, and again, this is some of the BOCES, there's BOCES costs in here that we need to look at. Insurance, like I said, is going up. We have district administration principals. This isn't all salary. We do a lot of training through BOCES in that area. We utilized a lot of training last year for letters training for staff that they facilitated. I don't think we need as much this year. We've already done that. We sent some people out last year that came back and trained with the trainers kind of. So.
And Carrie, we vote on that BOCES admin budget, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that's 7.86. That's what they're going in at.
No, this is just that line. So each of these lines has some kind of BOCES component usually tied to it. Overall, BOCES increase, they try to hold between around 3%.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a combination of
So that's not,
No, that's not their budget increase, I think you would
thank you.
get the,
Well, I mean,
You
I
would
know what my vote would be.
yeah, right, it would never fly. They are also doing a capital project, but they are swapping out old debt with new debt, and there is no increase whatsoever. But that's gonna be separate altogether, and that's not gonna happen in this budget. It'll happen probably in a year or two from here. So I think the last time they had proposed a new capital project, they weren't swapping out debt, they were just going through it, and it was gonna be like a huge increase, yeah, I think we were seeing about an $80,000 increase, and every business official in that room said, no, time out, wait. So they ended up waiting and listened. Like I said, pupil transportation's going up, you have contractual increases, we have one van in there right now, we have another, like I said, another vehicle or van that will come out of the capital reserve, so we didn't put it within the budget. But again, we're seeing a little bit more in gas prices. We're traveling all the way to Binghamton for special ed placements right now. It's hard to get placements here locally. So you're talking, we're transporting to Norwich. We stopped doing that. We may have another one that comes up that we have to go to Norwich for. We do our best to piggyback though. So we do our best to say, okay, well, if this district's going, can we do a drop point and then they can take the rest of the way, and vice versa. We do it with other districts and then we build them back. So we'll do the best we can with that. Employee benefits going up about 2.5% overall. We are seeing a much higher increase in the health insurance cost, but we're not reflecting that all in here, okay? So we are seeing some reductions with people taking the Medigap plan rather than the full insurance plan when they're retired. And then debt service, you have about a little over 4% increase. That's mainly tied to the fact that we have to issue a bond, which you just signed. So we just issued a bond anticipation note of $5 million. That is just to give us liquid cash as we start this project, and that'll get us through into July. We'll renew that ban again, and then that ban turns into a bond. It's only a 12-month short note, that's all it is. So again, we're looking at about a little over $600,000 increase. That's about normal. We see a lot of times around $550. It's contractual increases, salary increases, fuel costs, special ed placements, things like that. So we're at about a 2.7% increase on the budget, and we plugged in a 2% tax levy. Okay, we're not settled on that, we're just putting in 2%. That's what we went out last year, and our tax cap is almost 2.9%. So just so you know, that's kind of where we're at, $67,000 we've got to come up with. And we'll kind of talk about where we'd rather come up with before we make any more changes, so.
Carrie, is there any, okay, you're gonna get to that, sorry. All right, no, go ahead.
Alright.
Go answer.
So what's changed from the last time that we spoke? Like Carrie said, we solidified more of the special education placements. Today we spoke to win some of it, and the numbers are more solid as to what we had anticipated. Insurance costs, like Carrie said, also, liability, that's on another slide too, isn't it?
I think it
Yes,
is.
I think it is on another slide.
Yep.
So liability insurance is going up 20%, and health insurance, I think we had discussed one other time, that's at 10.5% increase as well. The staff budget requests were solidified, and then fuel bids and energy costs, see my printout. I figured you guys had questions about the fuel bids, so I was gonna be all ready. But they came in about where we thought. The one was a little more than we anticipated, but nothing that would, right? Wasn't the diesel a little higher than we had thought?
Diesel stayed about the same. I was hoping that we'd see a little bit of a decrease in diesel. Where we saw it was fuel oil. We saw a pretty good sized decrease, and we budget for 100,000 gallons a year. That's kind of like that coldest winter, let's see what happens, of course, and I say this every year, trying to project what you think the winter's gonna be for next year is always a, dartboard. But, again, we budget high, hoping that we come in low and have a mild winter.
So then, what's included in this budget, what are the initiatives and the plans? For the high school, we have a foreign language teacher, technology classroom purchases, and new social emotional program. Elementary, we have the 812 in-house program, and facilities, as we discussed, the 2 district vans.
Foreign language teacher we had in the budget previously, kept it. We talked a little bit about previously, can't find a Spanish teacher, can we find another type of foreign language? So we're keeping that within the budget. Technology, we hired a tech teacher last year, started CAD. We're looking at purchasing some more equipment to start that pre-engineering kind of phase and then move that into the new facility when we get that completed. The new SEL program is something that we see, we spent a lot of money and when you look at the elementary and the middle school for social emotional, and we do a lot, we still do stuff within the high school, but we're still kind of seeing that trickle from middle school into high school. So we're looking at a program right now, and we're actually starting that here in the spring, just a piece of it, and start that program for high school level as well. Anti-bullying, good decision-making, character, stuff like that. So, I think in the past, we've kind of gotten to a point where that gets, kind of trickles out and kids mature and you don't have issues, and we're still seeing those issues, so we want to be proactive about that as well. The 812 program is something we started here in November. That's in the elementary. So we currently have 2 students in that program. We will have 4 of our, and the whole point of that, again, was we couldn't find placements. So we said, why don't we start our own program? We've got a great teacher that can do it. And at the same time, we can hold 8, we can bring in other placements from other districts or other students. And so we're gonna have 4 of our own students in-house and hopefully bring in another 2 just to kind of creep along and see how the program works. It's been working really well so far. So that's still within the budget. And that's it. Of course, building a budget, you don't want kind of the same thing over and over. So there are some, a few initiatives within there that we can kind of brag about at the same time.
Impacts, things that may impact the budget as we go along. We're having a minimal state aid increase. We spoke about that last time. It's about 2%. Then, well, this is CTE, we have more students attending.
We do, CTE tuition is based upon a 3-year average.
Yeah,
So it's not like, it used to be, they used to run a model where it's, okay, so you have 20 students going at $10,000 a piece, here's the cost. And I think it was too hard for them as, kids would go into the program and then back out of the program, so they decided to do what they call a 3-year average. When I first started here, I think we had maybe 24 students that were involved in CT. I think we're seeing much more, probably around 36 students that take advantage of that program, so.
And then contractual increases and the special education placements. Bus lease expenses, we've discussed, we anticipate it coming in a little higher than it was last year.
Yeah, again, the liability and medical, those continue to go up. On the medical side, it's not that we're seeing, it's the drug side, that's huge. There's a little bit of, concern again with, KCVP, which we were a part of, which is a consortium, which is amazing, they've done a great job. They've seen some high claimant, some, people that have some pretty good high claims, I'm talking $750,000. We have stop loss insurance that's attached to that, so anything above $500,000, the consortium is not, they get all that money back, anything above $500,000. But we're seeing some pretty good size, and again, just the drug amount of prescriptions being filled for whatever reason, we're just seeing and I've seen that increase probably 20% each year. So that's what's driving that cost a lot.
So here's the summary breakdown. As on the second page, you can see we're estimated at 23 million. This is the increase. This is just a breakdown from the second page that shows it more user-friendly, essentially.
Yep.
606, the 2% we spoke about. This is the tax cap, and this is overall.
So right now, I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I think we've seen a couple of years where we've had 5% increases contractually. A lot of that time, sometimes that's new debt coming on. But just to be under 3%, I think for a percentage increase as far as cost to cost it's very reasonable. And then the proposed tax levy, like I said, we're just picking a number based upon what we did last year at 2%. Go ahead.
So where do you start? So this is the breakdown of the difference between the tax levy and where we're at. And this is overall essentially what, you hear people say it was money left on the table. But so this just adds all of them. This shows what a extra 0.25 increase would give us. And 0.5, and what do you have on your slide? Oh, and that's the history of the tax levy.
Yeah, and actually we've got to change that. We'll change that along. Actually, our average tax levy, this is a little high. The tax cap is 2.37. So again, like Sarah was saying, there are districts that they want to go to the cap because they say we leave money in the table. This district has not done that. We've stayed pretty close. There's a couple of years we've been pretty far behind, but we've left, as far as that goes, when somebody says, we've actually not asked the taxpayers for an additional $700,000 since 2018, 2019. But we didn't ask for that. And again, so that's just comparing what we were allowed to ask and what we actually went out with. And then our average tax levy at this point since 2018 has been about 1.5%. So again, a quarter percentage point is going to get you $25,000. We've been around that for quite a few years.
And what's our shortfall right now?
66. So here's the strategy on this. Sit and wait. You got one budget, you got the governor's budget that's already come out. It depends on who you ask as far as, usually it never goes down, it usually goes up a little bit. So one of the things that we kind of at this point will sit back and wait to see where they land as far as they're supposed to have a budget out April 1st, our final budget, she will. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if there's a lot more out there to grab. I hope there is. I can't promise that, especially with the fact that now there's talk of recession and everything else. I don't know if the state, where they're at as far as what they're gonna inject back into the budget or if anything. They talked a little bit about categorical aids. One of the things they did a lot with this budget, and I will give them a lot of credit, I mean, we talked about the foundation aid. The foundation aid formula from 2008 has 20, some of the 15, actually they use 20-year-old data for some of it. They've actually started to use more recent census data. They've started to add a little bit more weighting for special ed students, but they need to add more. And that's where the issue comes in, because you get, let's say you get $5,000 per student, I'm just making the number up as far as foundation aid goes, and then if they're classified as special education, you get 1.5, so you get $7,500. Well, that special ed student, that extra $2,500, is not gonna cover something where they have multiple service needs, they have to be bused to placement in Binghamton, which is $5,000-$6,000 a month. So those are the things that the state really, will they do it this year? I doubt it, but they're starting to play with it a little bit to give districts a little bit more money. When we talk about minimal state aid increases, we basically got the minimal 2% on foundation aid. There are some districts that did better than that, and the reason why they did better is because their census data may have been completely skewed. Take, for instance, like a Maine Endwell or somewhere in Binghamton, using census data from 20 years ago, and that whole area has changed, so now maybe there's higher poverty and they got more in foundation aid. I would say that the poverty here probably didn't shift a ton, and therefore we just fell into that 2% minimum. We saw a lot more increase in categorical aids, but we also spent more. So those categorical aids are based upon what you spent in the previous year, OCs, transportation, things like that. So we did see higher than 2%. It was 2% on the foundation aid. We probably saw, I think it was around 2.8% total. Then again, if they throw an extra $66,000 in foundation aid, we're good to go. Other option is to really sit down and look at some of these. We haven't done our fund balance yet for this year. That's the next step. So in the next meeting, we'll probably have a clearer picture of where we're gonna end up at the end of this year, and we can easily probably carve out $65,000 or $66,000.
You did some of the vans, would they be available to buy the vans in this year's budget with fund balance?
I would probably, we actually are taking we actually need a new truck for building and grounds. We're doing that out of this year's budget. I would probably either that or move the one van out and do both of them out of a capital reserve. Okay? Because, excuse me, you need voter approval for those vans to get aid from the trades. So I'd wait till July 1st, go out, take it out of the capital reserve that we established in May, and do it that way. So that's an easier way to do it.
Okay.
And if we do that, we can do both ways. I mean, even if they gave us $66,000 or $67,000 more, still do that,
Still do that, yeah.
and then have another 40 to play with, and maybe put something else, another initiative in. So
Are there any, I know you showed personnel, but budget to budget this year to next year, any personnel, any FTE adds?
no.
Are we flat with people?
The only thing that's a little different was the 812 was an FTE add. So you had a special ed teacher who was currently in the position, moved to this 812. So we have that we have to fill, but then again, you're making up, there's two things that you win by that. First of all, you're not sending 4 kids out for placements at $50,000 a pop. So there you go with 200,000, so you got that covered, plus you're making some revenue on the other side. So that's the only FTE add. We have one known retirement right now, that's being filled. And then if we get any more, they will be at the same time reviewed and filled. So there's no reduction and really just an addition to that one.
Okay, well, and that's how it to be.
We've seen some additions in FTEs for 1-to-1 aides only because of the needs. We're seeing higher needs, not only at first it was middle school, you're seeing it now in elementary a lot more too. So we've had some issues where we've had some FTEs for 1-to-1 aides, but they come and go at the same time, so. Yep.
Do we have budgeted in the students that might be taken in to be?
I did not. No, I didn't budget that in. At the cost that we can get in, we can probably, maybe estimate 4 or 5 or something like that, but we did not add that as a revenue at this time.
What would your estimate be per student?
Conservative, 4 or 5. Honestly, yeah.
No, per student
35.
revenue, I think is what you're asking.
Yeah.
812.
Oh, the 812, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking non-resident tuition, I'm thinking that you were talking about.
No.
Right, I think it was 35. 35,000,
So 2 would be 70,
yes.
and we did not budget that in.
I budgeted one.
One.
Yep, so, and same conversation today, so we threw that into revenue, and the same conversation with Winston, I said, you need to go out and hit the streets and start talking to your constituents because, and we actually were on the phone with another district today on another issue, they were looking to talk about some sharing, and I said, by the way, we have this, and they said,
We have a need.
we have a need, so I said, all right, perfect, so I think we can go to 8, you're just gonna have to throw another 8 in there, but then again, if that's 4 slots, you cover it and still makes it, have a good delta.
More than pays for itself.
Yep.
Covers it. I just had one question about you said the liability insurance went up 20%. Is that something we could shop around for?
Could, you have nicer, so there's 2 insurance companies that really kind of follow districts, one being Nicer and Utica National. Those are
I mean,
really,
we have one of them now.
we have Utica National.
And I know insurance across the board
So the issue,
is just going up, but
so our insurance agent was very, he's never seen it.
Yes.
that's a big deal.
Kurt was here, so we talked about it. One of the issues that NYSER's having is that they're kind of, from a financial aspect, I've heard that they're in the red. So their claims are so high. So now you had 4 or 5 players within the mix, and now you got 2 that are really covering it. And so these claims that are being put through are so much more, whether it be a vehicle, whether it be a loss within the building. There's just everything to, 400, I guess the number now is $400 a square foot to build. So any loss that we were used to, I go back to the business office when we had the flood, and he said, that loss alone was 85. That
The
was
first flood or the second flood?
first one. Well, there was a smaller second one,
The
yeah.
bad one.
The big one
First.
that took all summer. That would probably be equivalent to about 200,000 at this point. So
Yeah. No, and
no, it's a really good question because that's a huge. I mean, if you saw that in anything, then you would go, wait a minute, And he had talked about 17 and 19%. I think, yeah.
I think he said 18 and we rounded it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to round it up. And it's kind of out of their hands at the same time, so we're trying to do our best as far as, trail that. I will say having a local insurance company here is absolutely
benefit.
key.
Yeah.
I always say that usually, if, not usually, every single time, I usually get in, if I got in and one of the buses hit a deer, Mabel Insurance is already aware of it and already taken care of all the paperwork by 8:05, but they're, again, it's not bad. I looked at, them before as far as a competitor, nicer and usually a little bit more, to be honest. So something we have to look at down the road if we can, but kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm not sure I sat in on a review of that the last time we did it. It was pretty obvious what the choice should be at that point. I don't remember, it was quite a while ago.
Yeah, I think they're both sides experiencing it. I've done it before, previous district, and when it came right down to it, it wasn't any better. But like I said, it's been a while. So.
Like you said, that was the intangibles that
Mm-hmm.
make a difference.
It does. Yeah, I think it really does. So, then again, it's a huge increase in just the fact that they can kind of set these numbers. Cybersecurity is going up. It's just everything that's just increasing. I don't know if there's anything in the budget that we actually, we can look at placements. We, it's not the place. It's the out of district placements that are, different schools that offer stuff that's really expensive, and the travel that's really it's hard. ONC doesn't have a lot of the placements they used to have. ONC BOCES, DCMO does, but they also have 15 other districts that they're kind of competing with, and they only they're having a real big issue with staffing. So BLS or something behavioral, it's really hard to find anything. So that's why districts are trying to pull back and trying to find something in-house that's a little bit more palatable. So next week when we come back, we'll look at fund balance, but other than that, I mean, I always say this, I'm not losing sleep over this one. This one, I think we have a really good plan, we've got a good budget. Again, we can look at that picture, because right now we've got pretty good as far as BOCES placements, what we budgeted for special ed. We're quite a bit under. It's really the out-of-district placements that doubled. And so, but we still budget. We put a lot of cushion within that, just in we don't know what students are coming in over the summer, or what's gonna happen with a student that's here now who may have, needs that we're not aware of now, so. Coming back, we'll have something much tighter. I'd like to wait to see if the state can pay for the difference, so. That's cool.
Great.
That's good. So that's it. Any other questions? No? Perfect, look at that.
Amazing.
That was longer than 7 minutes.
I know.
You told Tammy.
There were questions. I wasn't anticipating questions. So,
Not that anybody's keeping track.
nah. Sun's still up. So, here we go. So we'll have something again next week. We have the contracts for capital project. We'll talk about that. You done?
So we'll do it first for that?
We can do, let's do the budget first probably. We'll do the budget right at 5. Again, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of changes to it. We'll talk a little bit, like I said, about fund balance, where we anticipate we're gonna end, and then go from there. And then we can just jump right into that after. Yep.
This has nothing to do with the budget. So at some point soon, this is after your email that you're working on meeting with colleges and the guidance regarding what offerings we could potentially have for college courses for students here. I would like to have just a conversation. I know you're gonna report, but I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts and things I wanna share in my head. I don't know, we can either do that now, or can we put it on the agenda for next week? Just a little conversation about it?
Yeah, with no action to be taken, something like that?
Yeah, that's all.
Do that? I'll make a note and have Lisa add it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we have a meeting, Wednesday with Dallas City, Delhi, and TC3 right now. And we're looking at yours, I'm digging into the.
Well, I talked to that lady. I had a conversation with her name's Michelle Medella, who's the principal for innovative programs for WHE BOCES. But I think, I can talk about it next week, but we also have SUNY Oneana that I would love you guys to talk to. We also have SUNY Cobleskill that after this meeting with this lady, I'm understanding they have a 4-year business degree that starts in high school with kids. And it's, you don't go to the campus, it's all here with maybe one of our teachers or whatever. So I think it would just be nice if we reached out to as many as possible SUNY Cobleskill, I know it's not. I don't know, it's not any farther than TC3,
It's closer.
right?
Closer.
And just, I guess my other big thing is talking about it, I'm sorry, is that I guess I would like to know overall what eventually our goal is, because I see my goal as eventually, not just piecemealing, you can get a credit, 3 credits here, 3 credits here, but I would like eventually to have a really successful program where kids are graduating from Delhi High School with a solid year of college or 2 credits that are actually transferable and accepted at other schools. So I guess I want to be, as you're talking to these places, I guess I'd like to know, what is our ultimate goal, and that's all. I just was, before you said that because us, I would just like to have a conversation about where it's going, that's all.
So personally, that's my ultimate goal too.
Okay, good.
Not just sprinkling, here's one course over here,
Yes,
and one over here. I'd like to see, again, going back to the CTEP program that we had many years ago.
Yeah.
Those kids were walking out of
Oh,
here
they were.
with a different layout,
I know.
but they were walking out
I
with
know.
1 year
I know they
full
were.
experience. And so that's
Not
kind
long ago, it was
Right.
pretty recent.
so that's kind of where we're looking at the same time.
Okay,
Is to do something that's actually a package deal where you walk in, so let's say you're going for an associate's, I'm just gonna use that,
Yeah,
CTEP program,
yeah,
and you walk out and you got 1 more year left.
right,
So that's kind of what,
Right.
because I don't think, piecemealing it here and there doesn't
Oh.
kind of have any guidance or any kind
And
of
we have to,
focus.
we also have to be sure that the credits that we're offering here, or if the kids go to another campus or whatever, take them while they're in high school. Like, I know, like, if it's SUNY's gonna take your credits. So you're gonna take, say you're at Del High School and you're taking SUNY Del High classes, they're gonna transfer automatically to SUNY Oneonta. SUNY does that, you know what I mean? So that's all, I just wanna make sure our partnerships that if you know going in that, okay, if you take these classes, yep, and you transfer to SUNY school, as long as you meet their criteria of whatever the passing grade is, they're gonna take them. So, okay.
No, it would be a total waste for us to do that.
I know,
You know what I mean?
I know.
To do that and go, well, yeah, good luck.
I just
private school may be a little different,
conversation of
But I
things.
think a lot of those courses, just seeing my own son transfer from one to another,
Yeah,
we were like, oh, you're not gonna get half, and they
I
took
know,
3/4 to more of them, so those basic
right,
first year
right,
things, get them out of the way and they can jump right in.
right, thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you.
All right,
Perfect. All right, good.
Thank you.
so move.
Okay.
All right, thanks, everybody.
We're done.
All right.
So, yeah, I think it's a transfer. Yeah.
Do you want, do we have all
I
these?
know my, yes, it is. It is.
The box to go in?
I'm-
I'm sure you have.
I'm-
Oh, it's fine.
Uh,